Hello, invaders! Welcome to the Mars TV podcast. It's a very special edition, for we have with us today a former X Division, two-time tag team, and television TNA champion in Robbie E. Robbie, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, good intro, bro. But you forgot to say that I have the best hair in professional wrestling history, man. It was going so well, and then you just left that part out. How could you do that?
I don't know, man. It is very difficult to forget.
All right. Well, I'm happy to be here, bro. It's Wednesday night. I'm leaving a training session. My babies are going to be born tomorrow, so I'm in a great mood.
That was the first thing I had written down here was to congratulate you.
So I'm happy to be here.
That was the first thing I had written down was to congratulate you on your children.
Well, you can't congratulate me until they're born tomorrow, 1 p.m.
I guess that's true.
Yes. Well, we're going in at 1. They should be born after 2. As long as everything goes great, which I know it's gonna, then I'll definitely, you shoot me a text and congratulate me, Dad. But thanks for the congratulations ahead of time.
The pre-congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, and I want to start off by asking you about the Robbie E gimmick. I guess if this is a show that we ask point blank questions, and I wanted to know that from what I researched, it said that you were given the Jersey Shore-esque character when you were still wrestling dark matches for TNA. Is that correct?
Well, it was one dark match, and it was kind of not necessarily like given to me. It was just kind of like, hey, we want this, try it, and if it works, it'll be given to you. So I tried it, it worked, and so it was. If you want to hear the full story, I was there for a tryout match. I was wrestling a guy named Robbie Fish. I was eating during the day with current agent for TNA, Pat Kenny, who used to be Simon Diamond, and Vince Russo, who was the head writer at the time, walked by, and Pat made a joke to him, and he said, hey, Vince, you want to do a Jersey Shore character? This guy's from Jersey. He looked at me. He looked at Pat. He looked back at me. He said, could you spike your hair? Could you fist bump? I said, sure, I'll try. So I had a few hours to kind of just become a Jersey Shore character. Luckily, I watched the show, and I'm from Jersey. It came very easy to me, and it's kind of who I was when I was in my early 20s. And I did it, and then they ended up saying after my entrance, they already were saying we need to sign this guy, and they said we had the best dark match in TNA history, and blah, 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 and then they pulled me to do a promo immediately, and I nailed it, and they offered me a job on the spot. It was pretty surreal.
I mean, I can't imagine it was that hard having a great match with a guy like Bobby Fish.
Yeah, no, I mean, Bobby's awesome, but I'm pretty confident that I can have a great match with a guy like anyone, a guy even like you.
Well, probably so, considering I've had, I want to say, 2 months of wrestling training under my belt.
Well, then, hey, let's do it. You just tell me where, you send me the plane ticket, we'll go over a fee, and, I'm willing to try anything new. Just don't do anything weird. Don't do any, butt pokes or anything, right?
Not at all. This is officially on my my dream card.
Okay, well, we have the main event of your dream card, Robbie E versus you.
Skylar Mars.
Tyler Marks.
Okay. Skylar Mars.
Skylar Mars, I got you.
Yes, all right.
Yeah, I knew your name would come out.
All right. Now, this may just be personal curiosity, but whatever happened to Cookie?
That is a good question. She's probably on Planet Cookie, because I believe that is where she's from, but as far as I know, she is out of wrestling. I haven't seen her in years. I'm pretty sure after TNA was over first, she kind of slowly fizzled her way out of the wrestling business.
I mean, it seems to make sense.
I could be wrong, but that's what I know. I haven't seen her in years.
Now, well, in the many years you've worked in TNA, you've teamed up with a lot of people like Rob Terry, Jesse Goddard, and the previously mentioned Cookie. Which was your personal favorite?
It's a tie, I'd say, between Jesse and DJZ and then Rob Terry. Both in different ways. Both great guys. Both, although you may seem like the characters are similar, they're, the acts that we were doing at the time were completely different. And I just enjoyed each of them in different ways. You know what I mean? When I was working with Rob, it was cool to go up to a guy that was 5 times my size and hand him a matching pink sweater and say, hey, bro, we got to wear this today. The facial expression and the face he made when I handed him that sweater is something I'll never forget. So I have some great memories from there. And then, working with Jesse, we ended up just when we started traveling together, just gelling so well together and became super close. And then when Zima got thrown into the mix, that was, just awesome at the time.
And speaking of which, do you see yourself possibly teaming up with anyone on the TNA roster in the future?
You know what it is? Never say never. Like, right now I'm kind of, me and Jesse are still boys and teaming, but we're kind of doing our own thing. And now Grado is trying to do this great bro thing, and he's kind of annoying me. But I do get a kick out of Grado. So, I mean, I think me and Grado might be able to do a little something. But, you've mentioned my championship credentials when we first started the podcast. And at some point, the one missing was the world championship. And at some point I would like to be a world champ. So that, eventually I do want to focus on my singles career. But, I mean, who's to say that right now me and Grado might become a thing? Grade Bro has a ring to it. Hashtag Grade Bro.
Hashtag Grade Bro, one of the many plugs we hope to get in this episode.
Hey, we got to start plugging our big event where me and you are the main event. What is it? It's Robbie E versus, what are you, Kyle?
I am the Martian, Skylar Mars.
Got it. So you are the astronaut Scott Johnson. Let's do it. Main event. Booked. Where's the location for this event?
I don't know. Probably parts unknown.
Let's do it actually in what's my favorite town in South Dakota? It's like a little town where I go there and it's quiet. Interior. What is it? Interior South Dakota is my favorite.
Interior South Dakota. That's where we'll book my dream card.
All right, Dream Card Interior South Dakota. It's my favorite place to be.
That'll even be the name of the event, Dream Card.
Yep. And I'll be there. My Twitch will be there, and then
it'll be great. And now, one thing I wanted to ask was, you mentioned Grado, and he's the perfect example of the talent influx in TNA. How tons of different big names have just been coming through and really making something of themselves in TNA. What is your opinion on that, and how do you feel that places you on the roster?
Give me an example of what you mean. Like,
obviously, let's see, Broken Matt, Drew, Lashley, just guys coming in.
With guys that are just, awesome and big stars into TNA.
Yes.
I mean, if someone grows in TNA and, for instance, Matt Hardy's thing, how, everyone loves Broken Matt and it got so many eyes on him. By getting eyes on him, it's getting eyes on the product, so it helps everyone involved. So, I mean, the bigger any one person can be, as long as it's involved in Impact Wrestling, it's better for everyone. Because the more eyes on the show, the more eyes on everyone. So, I mean, I'm happy. I mean, anyone that can turn some heads, that's a good thing. It's hard in 2017 to make a statement in pro wrestling, to get people talking. And Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero did that. So that's freaking awesome. So the more they watch them, the more they're going to see Robbie E. and Grado. Hashtag Grade Bro. Boom.
All right. Just shooting here. How do you feel that...
airline you going to fly me in on? What hotel am I going to stay at in South Dakota?
I'll have to do the research of that before booking this said event.
I don't like hotels where the door's on the outside. So it's got to be a hotel where the doors are on the inside. It's my only request. And United Airlines, please. And then we can have our match of Robbie E versus Dave Jones.
We'll have to figure that out. Now, you've worked in TNA for quite a few years. How do you feel it's changed in the years that you've worked there?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it has changed a lot. Who's writing the shows, in charge, agents, wrestlers. But I mean, when you really think about it, if you work at a diner or you work at McDonald's or Burger King and you're there for 6 years and you look back to 6 years in the past, there's going to be so many changes to even a restaurant. Like everything nowadays, things are changing so quick. Everyone thinks there's so many changes to TNA, but there's really so many changes to everything. But yeah, I mean, just talents in and out. You know what I mean? The names changed from just TNA to Impact Wrestling. The colors have changed. The set. When you go back and look at something 6 years ago, it is completely different, the roster, but it's not like TNA is the only thing that's constantly changing. Most things change a lot now.
That is very true. How do you feel Robbie E has changed in the 6 years since he joined TNA?
Well, little by little, my hair has gotten smaller, first and foremost. I think that's the most noticeable thing. I definitely had a few more pounds on me 6 years ago. I was a little more jacked. I've kind of toned down the bright colors, not really. And at one time, I was a former X Division and Television 2-time tag champ, and now my career has me going to South Dakota to wrestle you, so I don't really know what is going on in my life. I don't know if I've turned into Randy the Ram or what the situation is, so I'm kind of depressed now. I was in a great mood when I got on with you, my twins tomorrow, and now you've really taken me to this dark place in South Dakota where I just feel like I don't know if I want to live anymore.
You were the one who suggested the venue.
I forgot our enemy. Sorry, I've changed my mind. I do want to live, and I do like South Dakota. Only if it's Sioux Falls or however you pronounce it. Sioux Falls.
We'll see about trying to grab a venue in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Hey, let's see about a venue in Alaska too, because I might want to do it there.
Alaska.
So, Alaska or Sioux Falls in SD.
All right, may have to be a couple dream cards.
Hey, can I also make a suggestion for two more guys we should book on the show?
I'm all ears.
One is a commentator. Do you know who he does a lot of stuff in the Northeast? A lot of people say he's very grizzled, and he considers himself a veteran now, and he's just kind of rude and mean to everyone. It shows Mark Haggerty. Very good voice.
Yes, I know exactly who that is.
Knows how good he is and just will rub it in. Do you know who he is?
I know exactly who that is.
Okay, so he's number one. And then number two, do you ever hear of a little thing that goes do what it do, Dwids?
Yeah, I've heard of him. You wrestled him on Grimm's Toy Show just a couple nights ago.
You what?
You wrestled him on Grimm's Toy Show a couple nights ago.
Oh my God! You do know who he is. You know who Mark Haggerty and who Dinette Set Baton is?
Yes.
Oh God, there goes this. All right. Well, they need to be booked on our Alaska or South Dakota show also. Definitely.
So, I mean, I do my homework before all of these shows. You have to expect me to know a thing or two.
Well, now the fact that you actually know who Dinette Baton is, now my night is even ruined even worse.
I feel like the price of admission was not worth this podcast for you.
All right, sorry.
Now, I actually really did have some questions about you being on Grimm's Toy Show, because that seems like the kind of thing that generally doesn't happen, to see, anyone make appearances on a backyard wrestling program. I mean, guys like Vampiro and Rob Van Dam have done that in the past. Their logic was, we can't stop them, so let's help them get better so they don't kill themselves out there. What is your logic for making that appearance?
Well, for starters, Grimm is a trained professional wrestler, and everyone that you see in that ring is a trained professional wrestler, at least when I'm involved. But it's not a show where it's trying to be a normal wrestling show. It's just a comedy show. It's just for fun. It's skits. It's entertaining, and that's what pro wrestling's kind of turned into. So I would never associate myself with untrained professional wrestlers. Just because a ring is in a backyard doesn't make it backyard wrestling. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. But yeah, it's fun to do. It's a skit, and I mean, I get a kick out of doing it. A few other guys have done it. Blue Meanie, Garrett Hawkins. Other trained professional veteran wrestlers, and it is what it is. I choose to do it. I enjoy it.
You truly do enjoy what you do. Do you feel that trying to figure out how to word this question. What made a young Robbie E want to become a professional wrestler?
I don't really have any way to answer it. You know what I mean? I loved it when I was a kid because my older brother loved it. I got out of it in middle school. I fell back in love with it in high school. And I just said I wanted to do it. I just knew. I started when I was 16. I had my first match on my 17th birthday. And now I'm 33 years old and I'm still doing it. And, it's a cooler life than having a normal life. You know what I mean? I live in a nice house and drive a nice car from wrestling. And it's a pretty cool life. I've traveled the world. And I don't know. It just seems like you get to do a lot of cool stuff that comes with it.
Are there some places around the world you would still like to wrestle and you haven't gotten the chance to go to?
Well, all the main places, to be honest with you. I mean, I've hit all the cool places, Japan, all over Europe, Puerto Rico, Hawaii. I love going to Chile. I go there every few months for these really big shows. To be honest with you, all kidding aside, I really do. I don't necessarily know if I want to go there for wrestling, but I do want to go to Alaska. It's one of the few states I haven't wrestled in. But honestly, man, I mean, I really want to go to China, but wrestling's not big there. I've pretty much hit everywhere that any wrestler, when they start out, dreams of hitting. Australia, all over Japan. Yeah, I mean, I've hit them all, man.
Well, if the show has taught us anything, China is actually just starting their professional wrestling scene. Maybe getting a guy like Robbie E over there, having a few matches would help get it off the ground.
Maybe Robbie E versus Skylar Jones would be a great main event in China. And we move from South Dakota and Alaska, and we run it in Shanghai.
Are you trying to suggest that you should work for me?
Yeah, isn't that what we've kind of been doing for the past 15 minutes here?
I guess that basically is true.
Hey, what if I told you that I was driving in the car right now with Mark Haggerty and Dean Epitime? What would that do for you?
That would be an amazing moment in my show's history.
What? You see, now I really want to vomit because I really think you're being serious, and anyone who's fans of these two, I get nauseous. If you could ask Mark Haggerty, let me ask him. I'm going to put you on the spot here. You weren't prepared for this, but you seem like a fairly intelligent dude. If you could ask Mark Haggerty one question, he's right here next to me, whether it's about me, whether it's about him, whether it's about our big show coming up in Shanghai, what would you ask him?
What is the strangest match you've ever had to call?
Well, definitely the match on Grimm's Toy Show this past week with Robbie.
Oh my God, this is real.
Tag team action with the Wampus on the outside. That was one of them. Actually, I think we just finished up a tag team match with the Heavenly Bodies this evening. I've called a lot of really crazy matches, and Robbie's in most of them.
You hear that? Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Mark?
This is
everything.
Oh, wonderful.
This is a wonderful episode.
And so now, moving away from Mark to the backseat with Mr. Dwid's do himself, Dean Epitone. If you could ask him one question, again, putting you on the spot, fairly intelligent dude. We're headed to Shanghai in a month or two. What are you going to ask DNF?
Easily, how did that name come about?
Dionet.
That and Do What It Do. I mean, I've heard Do What It Do before, but, you know, that seems like a very strange catchphrase.
I know you've heard Do What It Do, but you've never heard Do What It Do, son.
I guess that's true.
What it stands for. You see, I am a duet, and I get it done. I just do what it do to get every job done. So, you know, if you're not a duet, then you need to just leave me alone.
Wow. Sudden appearances on the Mars TV podcast. This is many firsts for this show.
Well, that's what Robbie E does. He brings you the best of the North, the A-listers of the Northeast, dog.
The A-listers of the Northeast. I wouldn't be surprised to see Northeast Indie shows start getting that tag team showing up with that name.
I gotcha. Well, there's actually one other person in the car I didn't tell you about that's sitting here kind of silent. Have you ever heard of someone by the name of the Icon Dan Ram?
Oh, man, this would be a new one to me.
Well, he actually is right here.
Hey, how's it going, Skylar? It's me, the Icon. We got a big show coming up in Livingston on Friday night. Robbie, he's gonna be there. He's gonna challenge champion Eric Andretti for the title. You got to be there, Livingston, New Jersey, 355 Eisenhower Parkway. Do what it do, Icon Dan Ram. Thanks for having me on your show.
This is an amazing episode. It's the first episode to have 4 different guests.
That is right.
It's the first episode to have a TNA guy. It's the first episode to have a commentator. It's the first episode to have 3 different Northeastern talents. This is incredible.
A-listers.
A-listers, indeed. Oh, man.
DNA did just say that you're not and you never will be allowed to be a duet. So, sorry.
That's fine. Me and the Invaders are just taking off.
Wait, you're with Invaders? So did you just make this a 6-man tag in Shanghai? You, the Invaders, versus me, DNA, and Mark Haggerty in Shanghai, China? Is that really happening?
Well, the Invaders are what I call my fans, but...
Special enforcer?
The Invaders are what I call my fans, but I do have a couple of different competitors.
Let me ask you this. 2 questions. If your Invaders are fans, number 1, do you have a girlfriend?
Indeed, I do.
Okay, I thought that was going to be no. And number 2, do you like cats?
I love cats. Cats are amazing.
Okay, well, at least I got one of them right. Did you get stuffed in lockers in high school?
I did. That's why I became a professional wrestler.
Fair enough.
All right, as we're running down to the last so much time of our interview, I do have one last question before we switch to the questions given to me on social media by your fans.
You got it.
All right, so my last question I had written down for you here was, as a wrestler in training, what advice do you have for a guy like me?
Just consistency. You know, you got to stay with it. You're either all in or you're not. Too many people work hard for a few months, and if it don't come to them, they give up. You know what I mean? You got to stick with it. Nothing happens overnight. If I could give one piece of advice, that is it.
All right, thank you very much. And now we're going to switch into the fan questions. The first is from a man known as Burnout Inc. on YouTube. He actually has a very successful stop-motion channel. I'm pretty sure I could convince him to get a Robbie E. action figure onto his weekly show.
Okay.
What is your favorite wrestling video game?
I don't do video games. I think they're for nerds. But when I was a real little kid and I did do video games, WCW Nitro was the one on PlayStation, correct?
I believe so.
And I like Warzone play like after PlayStation, which for me was I guess like 6th grade, whatever. I didn't go. It was like, dude, I'm like starting to meet girls and like have sex with women. You know what I mean? I don't play video games.
Hey man, I guess I can understand that. Woo, baby. DaKing, D-A-K-I-N-G on YouTube asks. Well, actually, two people asked the same question. Him and Fatboy, P-H-A-T-B-O-I, ask.
All right.
Will you be on more Grimm's Toy Show videos, and how was your experience the first couple times?
Well, like we talked about earlier, it was a good time. I get a kick out of it. It was fun. Yeah, I think I will be because, you know, as long as Spider-Man or Red Power Ranger are going to be there, I need to be there to fight crime and go against them because I think they're all evil referees. So I have to be there to serve justice to Grimm's backyard.
Is Robbie E a superhero?
In my own right, yeah. Let me ask you this: what do you think? Do you think I'm a superhero, Jonathan?
I do, but I'm curious as to what your powers are.
My powers are that. My what? Hold on, wait a minute. What does Mark Haggerty think my powers are?
Oh, that you start talking to girls and have sex with women.
What does Leonard Votar and them Dwids think my superpowers are?
Jim, 10 is sex with women.
That's all. That's all right, well, the old Robbie, he was maybe like that, but the new one, no. The new one, my superpowers are that I can travel, juggle a wife, be a super dad. I'm going to have twins. I have a 4.5-pound chihuahua, and I can just be the best leader of all of them.
That does sound like a pretty incredible superhero. Now, just curious, if you had to pick some other superheroes of wrestling to join your Justice League of Robbie E, who would you choose?
Number 1, Ken Reedy, hands down. He's one of the greatest professional wrestlers in history. Number 2, All-Star Michelle Johnson or D. And number 3, you know, and I'm not just saying that because he's in our car, but Icon Dan Ram. For sure, the 4 of us.
Oh, thanks, Robbie.
You got it, bro. The 4 of us.
That is incredible. Zach Manzi on Facebook asks, with Impact Wrestling having certain, I guess if you want you can pass this question, but having certain monetary issues at the moment, you know, what's your opinion on where the company is going, and if so, what would you change?
Well, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, it is what it is. You know, problems happen in companies, like we talked about earlier. You know, problems happen in McDonald's where who's taking ownership of McDonald's. You know what I mean? You don't know what goes on behind the scenes with a lot of companies. But a lot of wrestling fans are negative, so they just want to find all the bad things. The good news is we're still on the air every week. We're still producing great professional wrestling. A lot of people are getting work and are supporting their families from Impact. And Dixie Carter has been able to bring us a product for the past, whatever it is, 14 years. And no one gives her enough credit for that. You know what I mean? Everyone's out to get her, but then they're forgetting that guys like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and all these great wrestlers that everyone loves all started in TNA. And without TNA, not that they would have been nothing, but they really did get to make a name for themselves there. So start looking at the POS period, the pause. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Now, we still have a few minutes on the clock, and there was one question I had skipped over by mistake I was very curious about. Does Robbie E. ever see himself ever leaving TNA and going to what we're going to call the show, if you probably catch my drift?
Well, right now, I mean, I'm contracted TNA. Like I said, I live in a nice house, I drive a nice car, and I live a great life from TNA. So I am all focused on Impact Wrestling, and, that's all that's on my mind right now, being the best I can be in Impact.
That does make a lot of sense, and one thing I'm very curious is, how did you find yourself getting into Impact Wrestling? What caused you to have that first dark match with Bobby Fish?
Terry Taylor was the head of talent relations at the time, and we always talked back and forth, and he always saw something in me. He was just waiting for my spot, and finally he invited me down for a dark match, and the rest is history.
I guess that does. And now, I'm not sure if I'm really breaking any lines here. I guess we're kind of talking on an indie channel, so to speak. So my curiosity is, the man you fought in that very dark match has become very successful. Do you see yourself fighting him again anytime in the future?
Sure, it could happen anywhere. You know what I mean? Hope that it does.
Maybe on one of the 3 Dream Card shows.
Yeah, hey, if you can afford them to get another flight, I mean, you already got Haggerty's and Diana and Icon's flight to Shanghai. I booked Icon for our show, too, by the way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We're booking Icon, too. And I guess my last question for this very episode before we go is, what was your experience on the Mars TV podcast?
What's your name again?
It is Skylar Mars.
Well, I do remember that I got a China booking out of it, so I think it was fairly decent. But you're really going to send me my flight tonight, right?
I'll have to talk to the people who run Dream Card and get that done.
Word. All right, man. It was good talking to you, bro.
Thank you. Do you have anything to plug before we leave?
Twitter at Robbie E Impact, Instagram at Robbie E Impact, website robbie-e.com, and then of course you can find any Impact Wrestling news on impactwrestling.com. Thank you, dog. And of course, now have you sent me a gift off my baby registry yet for my twins, or are you gonna go ahead and do that tonight? When are you gonna do that?
I've actually got my secretary working on that at the moment.
Sweet. Tell her to work on my plane ticket and the hotel with the doors inside also.
With an actual hotel, not an hotel motel.
Yeah, we don't do those. But if we're in Shanghai and Center City, we should be all good.
Of course. And thank you very much for coming to the Mars TV podcast. You can check out this and many more great interviews on Planet Mars, which is the name of the YouTube channel. All links will be in the description of any aforementioned things we've plugged. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm Skylar Mars. This was Robbie E. and Mike Haggerty and Icon. And I really think I'm going to screw this up. Do what it do, son. Let's do that. Do what it do, son.
Not bad.
Not bad.
All right, bro.
We'll see you guys next time.
All right.